Imagine waking up on Christmas morning, the scent of pine and cinnamon drifting through the house, the soft glow of fairy lights wrapping the living room in warmth. The whole day had promised joy, laughter, and family togetherness. Yet the moment I opened my eyes, a chill ran through me that had nothing to do with the winter air. My scalp was bare, every strand of hair meticulously shaved off overnight. The mirror reflected a face I barely recognized, pale, vulnerable, and burning with disbelief. On the nightstand, a note smirked up at me, cruel in its brevity. "Now you have the look that suits you, you ridiculous old woman." My heart seized. My hands shook as I read and reread the words, each syllable stabbing sharper than the last. The timing, so calculated, was beyond comprehension. It was Christmas, my son's wedding day, and the culmination of everything my late husband and I had built, all under the threat of a woman whose smiles were knives, whose charm masked a hunger for wealth. I had been ready to hand over $120 million in inheritance to Jackson, a gift from Frank and me to start him strong. Yet here I was, humiliated, stripped of dignity before the entire family would soon gather. Even in the chaos of this betrayal, instinct took over. I drew a slow breath, letting the sharp metallic taste of shock on my tongue settle into determination. Tears pooled, threatening to spill, but I forced them back. The past years, the battles fought in boardrooms, the nights spent alone with my hammer and saw in a drafty Montana shack, had forged a steel inside me. I would not let this moment define me. This Christmas, no matter what, would become a turning point. Not the ruin of my family, not the victory of a gold digger pretending love. I remembered Frank's words, whispered from a hospital bed he had never wanted me to see him leave from. "Babette, give Jackson the world, but teach him to earn it." Those words rang louder than any shame I felt now. I owed it to him, to our son, to honor that promise with courage, not tears. My mind raced through the plan. I couldn't call the police now, not with Jackson's wedding in 4 hours. Chaos, scandal, a ruined Christmas. No, this needed finesse. I needed to attend the wedding, to protect Jackson, and most importantly, to turn this humiliation into justice. The Christmas tree in the corner sparkled innocently, ornaments catching the winter light. Each bauble seemed to whisper memories of the past. Jackson as a toddler, tearing paper with reckless joy, Frank laughing with hands covered in sawdust, our humble beginnings in Montana. I allowed myself a brief moment to remember, then let it go. Focus shifted to action. I called Judith, my sister, my lifeline in every storm. Her gasp over the phone mirrored my horror, but quickly, we moved into strategy. A stylist arrived, carrying a selection of wigs. We chose a silver, chic, short hairstyle, modern yet dignified, elegant yet defiant. My dress, from a charity gala, navy and flowing, hugged me in all the right places. As I looked in the mirror, I didn't see defeat. I saw a warrior prepared to reclaim her family's legacy. Driving to the Westbrook Hotel, the snow crunching under the tires, I felt the whispers of past Christmas mornings, Frank placing a star on the tree, Jackson squealing with delight. The irony was sharp, but it fueled me. Jackson greeted me in the lobby, hopeful and oblivious to the chaos that had erupted behind closed doors. His tux was impeccable, but his eyes searched mine for reassurance. I smiled gently, hiding the fire burning inside. And then she appeared, Natalie, a vision of perfection gone rotten. Her white gown sparkled, but her eyes were eyes, her smile calculating. She had thought she won. Through the ceremony, I stayed composed. Every laugh, every glimmering glass, every Christmas carol echoing through the hall was a reminder of the stakes. At the cocktail hour, I overheard snippets of her plotting, thinking no one would catch, thinking Jackson blind to her manipulation. My jaw clenched. She had underestimated the woman she was trying to destroy. With Thomas, our family advisor, in discreet communication, arrangements were adjusted. The $120 million transfer, initially preset to occur immediately, was halted. The moment of Christmas joy would become a stage for revelation, a carefully orchestrated unveiling of truth. The toasts began, the hum of soft music and clinking glasses filling the air. Each speech laced with warmth, but I waited for my turn. Finally, the microphone was mine. The room quieted, as if sensing the tension beneath the holiday cheer. I lifted my hand, paused, letting the suspense build. Slowly, deliberately, I removed my wig. Gasps echoed like sleigh bells gone wrong. Jackson froze, confusion painted across his face. And then I spoke. I revealed the note, read it aloud, letting each word pierce the air like the cold outside. I detailed the stolen jewelry, the shredded dress, the calculated cruelty disguised as holiday joy. Silence fell like snow over the ballroom. Eyes shifted to Natalie, whose smirk faltered, cracks appearing in the mask of innocence she had worn so carefully. Her protests were loud, but my evidence was louder. Security footage, testimony, even traces of her interference with my holiday preparations. The prenup clause, just signed 2 weeks prior, ensured that assault, theft, or fraud would nullify any claim to wealth. Every attempt she made to twist reality fell flat. Jackson, finally seeing the truth, pulled me into a hug, sobbing in relief and shock. The Christmas tree lights flickered as if approving the revelation. The once perfect holiday had become a crucible, refining the bonds of trust, love, and justice. By the evening, with the snow settling outside, Jackson and I walked the garden, the scent of pine mingling with roasting chestnuts from the nearby kitchen. Our bond, tempered by betrayal and restored by courage, felt unbreakable. Natalie's schemes had failed. The holiday meant for family had become a testament to resilience. That Christmas, I realized, wasn't about gifts, glitter, or perfection. It was about truth. The kind that cuts through lies and leaves only the strongest connections standing. In the soft glow of Christmas lights, I reflected on my journey from Montana winters to boardrooms, from motherhood to betrayal, from grief to empowerment. And I knew that no matter what, our family would endure, stronger than ever. After the ballroom settled into uneasy murmurs, I guided Jackson away, our breaths mingling with the crisp December air filtering through the French doors. The garden was blanketed in snow, sparkling like crushed diamonds under the soft glow of lanterns. He held my hand, hesitant, still absorbing the shock of the truth I had unveiled. His eyes searched mine, a mixture of fear, confusion, and relief. I squeezed his hand gently, letting him know he wasn't alone in this winter storm of deceit. "Mom," he started, but words failed him. I shook my head, smiling softly. "Not now, Jackson. Later. We'll fix this together." We walked past the frost-covered fountain, its water frozen into delicate crystalline spikes, remembering simpler Christmas mornings, hot chocolate by the fireplace, Frank lifting Jackson up to hang the last ornament. Nostalgia softened the edges of anger, but beneath it, a fire burned. Natalie had underestimated me, and now it was time to solidify our victory. I dialed Thomas, our advisor, who had been monitoring the situation quietly from a corner. His voice came through, calm but alert. "Everything is ready. Legal protections engaged. Prenup enforced. Natalie won't touch a dime, and all access attempts are logged." Relief washed over me, but I reminded myself to stay vigilant. Even during Christmas, predators lurk, masked behind smiles and designer gowns. The evening carried on, music playing softly, but I chose solitude in a quiet corner of the estate. Snowflakes tapped against the window like whispered reminders of the chaos outside, the treachery that had unfolded while the world celebrated joy. Judith joined me, bearing a tray of tea and cookies, her eyes sharp, scanning every corner as if expecting Natalie to appear with another scheme. "She won't get another chance," Judith murmured, her voice low but firm. I nodded, sipping the warm brew, feeling the heat seep into my chilled bones. The holiday lights reflected in the window, twinkling like tiny witnesses to the battle waged under the guise of Christmas cheer. Later, Jackson returned, wrapping me in a hug that melted months of fear and tension. "I can't believe she tried to ruin this," he whispered, voice cracking. I held him close, whispering reassurance. "She underestimated you too, Jackson. She never counted on our bond, or our resolve." He pulled back slightly, brushing snowflakes from his tux, eyes wide. "Mom!" I saw the footage, the note, everything. I nodded. Yes, but it's over now. We survived. And we'll rebuild. The snow continued to fall outside, coating the garden in purity, a stark contrast to the deceit that had infiltrated our lives. The Christmas lights reflected off the white blanket, casting a serene glow, a promise of renewal and justice. That night, after the last guest had left, Jackson and I sat by the fireplace. The warmth enveloped us, but my mind wandered to the pieces of evidence carefully gathered, the timeline meticulously reconstructed, and the lawyers poised to act. Even amid Christmas joy, vigilance was essential. Natalie's greed had been exposed, her lies unraveling faster than tinsel caught in the wind. I detailed the steps for Jackson, securing accounts, redirecting inheritance to conditional trusts, ensuring that nothing she could manipulate remained within reach. He listened, absorbing each detail, the shock of betrayal slowly transforming into resolve. This was a different kind of Christmas gift: safety, truth, and a legacy protected from corruption. The following morning, snow still blanketing the estate, we began the practical steps of securing the property. The staff, loyal and discreet, helped relocate valuable items, reinforce security, and document every interaction. Maria, our housekeeper, had witnessed parts of Natalie's actions and now became an invaluable ally. Together, we cataloged the missing jewelry, the destroyed dress, and other attempts at sabotage, each detail filed meticulously, ready for any legal proceedings. The quiet of the estate, broken only by the crunch of boots in snow, contrasted sharply with the storm of betrayal that had passed through these halls. Yet, amidst the stillness, I felt a profound sense of control returning. This Christmas would not be a tale of loss, but a story of triumph, of lessons learned and justice served. By mid-morning, Jackson and I ventured to the family cabin, a tradition that had been cherished since he was a boy. The pine-scented air and the soft crunch of snow beneath our boots brought comfort. We lit the fireplace, its crackling flames a balm to the heart, and unpacked a small tree, decorating it with ornaments we had preserved over decades. Each bauble carried a memory: Jackson's first Christmas, Frank's gentle laugh, family vacations that had shaped us. As we worked, I shared stories of our past, not shying away from the hardships, the small victories, and the lessons of integrity. Jackson listened intently, understanding now, more than ever, the importance of vigilance, love, and family loyalty. The day unfolded with small moments of normalcy: baking cookies, sipping hot chocolate, laughing at Jackson's attempts to recreate Frank's legendary gingerbread recipe. Yet beneath the surface, the undercurrent of justice hummed. Thomas called periodically with updates. Natalie had attempted to contact financial institutions, but every move was intercepted by legal protections. Her attempts to discredit me publicly through social media were met with immediate, documented rebuttals. By nightfall, it became clear that the orchestrated humiliation had failed. The woman who had sought to control and manipulate was left exposed, her schemes unraveling while we rebuilt the family's sense of safety and unity. That evening, as darkness fell and the Christmas lights twinkled against the snowy landscape, I reflected on the journey from despair to empowerment. The baldness, once a symbol of violation and vulnerability, had become an emblem of strength and resilience. The Christmas tree, adorned with memories, glowed softly, casting shadows that danced across the cabin walls like guardians of truth. Jackson, now fully aware of the deception and the courage it had taken to protect him, sat beside me, sharing warmth and understanding. This Christmas, unlike any before, was not about gifts or appearances. It was about justice, love, and the reaffirmation of bonds that could withstand any storm. The following week, legal actions were finalized. Trusts were established, one for Jackson, one for future grandchildren, and a charitable foundation dedicated to supporting victims of financial and emotional abuse. Natalie's attempts to circumvent the prenup or assert influence were systematically nullified. The Wilson Foundation, named in honor of Frank, became a symbol of resilience and hope. Each action was meticulous, deliberate, and purposeful, ensuring that our family, our legacy, and our values remained intact. And though the snow still clung to the pine trees outside, its brilliance no longer mirrored a nightmare, but the clarity of victory, the purity of justice, and the warmth of love reclaimed. As the weeks turned into months, Christmas lights gave way to spring blossoms, but the lessons remained vivid. Jackson, once blindsided by charm and deception, now carried a wisdom beyond his years, understanding the delicate balance of trust, vigilance, and love. Our bond, tested by betrayal, had emerged unbreakable. The memory of that Christmas, the one where a ruthless gold digger tried to steal more than money, where humiliation threatened to divide us, became a cornerstone of strength. Each holiday thereafter was marked not by fear, but by the quiet confidence of knowing that no matter the schemes or lies, the family would endure, stronger, wiser, and united. As December deepened and the world outside sparkled with festive lights, Natalie's facade began to crack. Attempts to contact Jackson were met with firm legal barriers, her texts and calls unanswered, her social media posts ignored. Rumors of a bizarre family conflict started circulating among our social circles, whispers fueled by her desperation to reclaim control. I remained calm, sipping my cocoa by the fireside, watching the snow swirl outside like a protective veil around our home. Jackson, now increasingly alert to deceit, reviewed the footage, notes, and evidence I had gathered. His eyes, once clouded with disbelief, now gleamed with understanding and admiration. "Mom, you were incredible," he said quietly, placing a hand on mine. I smiled, letting the warmth of our shared resilience fill the room. It was Christmas, yet the greatest gift we had received wasn't wrapped in paper. It was truth, justice, and the unshakable bond of family. The next day, we began a quiet campaign to safeguard every asset, every property, every account. Thomas coordinated with our financial institutions, ensuring all transfers were conditional and any attempts by Natalie to access funds were automatically blocked. Maria worked with discretion, helping catalog family heirlooms and personal items, while Judith oversaw legal filings. Even amid the Christmas cheer that drifted through our estate like the scent of pine and baked cookies, a meticulous strategy unfolded. Each step reinforced our protection, turning Natalie's elaborate plan into a blueprint for failure. Snow fell gently outside, blanketing the world in white purity, a symbolic contrast to the greed and deception we had exposed. Jackson, now fully immersed in understanding the betrayal, stood beside me as we reviewed every detail, our hearts synchronized in purpose. Despite the legal and financial precautions, the emotional aftermath remained a delicate terrain. Jackson wrestled with shock and guilt, mourning the reality that the woman he had believed in harbored such deceitful intentions. Our evenings became a blend of reflection and planning, discussing boundaries, trust, and the lessons to be carried forward. We revisited holiday traditions, decorating the tree, sharing stories by the fireplace, and baking gingerbread as Frank once taught us. Each ornament hung became a reminder of resilience, of triumph over manipulation. The cabin, snow-covered and radiant, became a sanctuary where Jackson's grief and disbelief transformed into clarity and resolve. Together, we rebuilt not just security and finances, but the emotional foundation that Natalie had tried to destabilize. Meanwhile, Natalie's desperation escalated. Her attempts to discredit me on social media were met with overwhelming evidence, screenshots, video footage, and testimony from witnesses who had seen her actions unfold. Friends and family began questioning her narrative, her credibility crumbling like ice under the winter sun. Jackson, emboldened by the truth, confronted her briefly through his lawyer, firmly shutting down any attempts to sow doubt. Her threats to claim part of the inheritance fell flat as the prenup, carefully drafted and enforced, left her with no legal foothold. Even her public attempts to portray me as overbearing were neutralized, each false claim countered with documented proof. Christmas lights twinkled outside, a reminder that even amid celebration, vigilance and preparation ensured justice prevailed. As the festive season continued, I introduced Jackson to plans for the Wilson Foundation, our long-held vision coming to life in the wake of betrayal. The foundation, dedicated to supporting victims of financial exploitation and abuse, was more than a philanthropic endeavor, it was a shield, a testament to the lessons we had endured. Jackson, initially hesitant to engage publicly so soon after the traumatic event, found purpose in the work. Together, we organized small holiday fundraisers, giving gifts to families in need, decorating community centers with festive cheer, and sharing the story of resilience that had become our Christmas legacy. The warmth of helping others softened the sting of Natalie's treachery, replacing it with empowerment and hope. By New Year, the Wilson estate had transformed into a hub of activity. Security measures were ironclad, legal protections absolute, and our circle of trust strengthened. Jackson, now fully aware of the dangers posed by deceptive individuals, navigated life with a newfound wisdom. Holiday traditions persisted, but they were imbued with an awareness and intentionality that ensured joy was never again compromised by manipulation. Snow-covered walks, carols by the fireplace, and the aroma of baking filled the air, mingling with laughter and storytelling. Natalie, meanwhile, had retreated, her schemes exposed, her influence nullified. Her attempts to manipulate the narrative outside our family walls proved futile. The truth, documented and undeniable, had become a shield around our legacy. Christmas that year became a turning point, a story we would tell for generations. It was no longer just about gifts or decorations. It was about resilience, vigilance, and the power of family unity in the face of betrayal. Jackson and I sat by the fire, sipping cocoa, sharing stories of past hardships, victories, and lessons learned. The snow outside fell softly, a reminder that even after the harshest storms, there is beauty, peace, and clarity. We reflected on the journey from humiliation and deception to empowerment and triumph, and recognized that this Christmas, unlike any other, had gifted us strength, wisdom, and unbreakable bonds. Weeks later, Natalie's attempts to regain any control or credibility completely failed. Every move she made was tracked and blocked, and her social reputation waned as her true motives became public knowledge. Jackson continued his work on the foundation, implementing programs that protected the vulnerable and educated communities about financial and emotional exploitation. Our bond grew stronger, deeper, and more intentional, cementing the trust and love that had been tested but never broken. Snow still blanketed the estate, the twinkling lights reflecting the triumph of truth and integrity over deceit. That Christmas had become not a memory of betrayal, but a testament to resilience, strategic thinking, and the enduring power of family unity. As the holiday season drew to a close, Jackson and I sat together in quiet reflection. The estate, secure and warm, resonated with the peace that only comes from victory and justice. Memories of past Christmases mingled with the reality of our present triumph. Each ornament, each twinkling light, each snow-covered branch became a symbol of survival, wisdom, and foresight. I looked at Jackson, seeing not only my son but a man shaped by love, loss, and the courage to face deception head-on. That Christmas, the Wilson family had endured the storm, emerging not only unscathed but stronger, wiser, and prepared to face whatever the future might hold. As the holidays faded into the early days of winter, Jackson and I focused on consolidating our victories, turning every lesson into action. The Wilson Foundation became our shared mission, a beacon of hope for families who had faced exploitation, deceit, and betrayal. Each morning, the crisp Montana air carried the scent of pine and frost, reminding us of both the harshness we had endured and the clarity we had achieved. Jackson poured himself into planning community projects, designing safe shelters for families, while I managed investments and philanthropic initiatives, ensuring that nothing could ever be used against us again. Amid the busyness, we carved out time for small, quiet traditions, decorating miniature trees for neighborhood children, baking holiday treats for those less fortunate, and writing personal letters of encouragement to foundation members. These acts of kindness, layered atop our strategic victories, restored a sense of normalcy and purpose. Meanwhile, Natalie's attempts to intrude on our lives grew increasingly desperate. Legal barriers prevented her from accessing any funds, and every communication she sent was documented meticulously. She tried to spread rumors, to portray herself as the victim of a controlling mother-in-law, but the evidence of her schemes was airtight. Witness statements, video footage, and financial records painted a picture of manipulation and greed that no court or friend could deny. Jackson, once naive to the world's darker corners, now navigated these interactions with precision, his confidence tempered by the harsh lessons of betrayal. Each time Natalie tried to reach out, her messages went unanswered. Each attempt at intimidation met with calm, calculated responses. Her public presence dwindled, and her reputation outside our walls crumbled, while our circle of support grew stronger, more loyal, and more determined to see justice prevail. As the weeks passed, our estate became a hub of warmth and joy, a stark contrast to the chaos Natalie had tried to sow. Snow blanketed the property in white serenity, the twinkling lights on trees and rooftops reflecting the peace we had fought so hard to secure. Jackson and I found ourselves revisiting holiday traditions in a deeper, more intentional way. We laughed over stories of past Christmas mishaps, hung ornaments with sentimental meaning, and shared cocoa by the fireside, savoring both the present moment and the knowledge that our family had emerged stronger than ever. The foundation flourished alongside our personal lives, as local families received support, guidance, and protection. Each success, small or large, reinforced the lessons we had learned about vigilance, discernment, and the power of unity. During this time, we also prioritized emotional healing. Jackson attended therapy sessions to process the shock and betrayal, learning to distinguish between genuine affection and manipulative behavior. I guided him through the nuances of trust and self-protection, emphasizing that wisdom often comes from experience and observation. Nights spent in quiet reflection by the fire became rituals of bonding and growth, moments where laughter, tears, and stories intertwined. Our conversations delved into both the pain and the triumphs, acknowledging the heartbreak while celebrating resilience. Even as Natalie's shadow loomed faintly in our awareness, it no longer dictated our emotions or decisions. We had reclaimed control, defining the parameters of our lives and our legacy with clarity and confidence. By mid-January, the Wilson estate had transformed fully into a fortress of both security and emotional sanctuary. Jackson and I continued our foundation work with increasing visibility, hosting community events, educational workshops, and winter fundraisers that inspired participation and generosity. We maintained strict oversight of all assets, with lawyers, financial advisors, and personal assistants coordinating seamlessly to ensure that no deceit could infiltrate our carefully constructed defenses. Meanwhile, the natural beauty of Montana in winter, glittering snow, frosted pines, and bright morning sun reflecting off white expanses provided a backdrop of calm strength, mirroring the peace and control we had cultivated inside our home. Every success, every act of service, every smile reinforced the power of resilience and foresight. Natalie, meanwhile, attempted one final desperate move, a public social media campaign portraying herself as wronged, claiming that our family had manipulated her and blocked her from a rightful inheritance. We responded with patience and evidence, releasing documented proof of her schemes and deceptive intentions. The response from the public and our community was overwhelmingly in our favor. Friends, colleagues, and family members recognized the truth, and Natalie's credibility eroded entirely. Jackson, seeing the fruits of careful preparation and unwavering honesty, felt a deep sense of vindication and relief. Together, we celebrated these victories quietly, understanding that true triumph does not require spectacle but strategy, foresight, and unshakable integrity. As winter turned to early spring, the Wilson estate, once threatened by betrayal, now thrived in peace. Jackson and I continued our routines with intention, mornings filled with planning and reflection, afternoons devoted to foundation initiatives, and evenings spent enjoying quiet family moments. Every holiday ornament, every winter snowflake, every flicker of the fire became a reminder that we had endured the storm and emerged stronger, wiser, and more unified. Natalie's attempts at disruption had failed completely, and our legacy, both personal and philanthropic, was secured. Through these months, Jackson grew into a man fully aware of both the fragility and resilience of trust, guided by his mother's experience and wisdom. Together, we had transformed betrayal into opportunity, humiliation into empowerment, and fear into strategic clarity, ensuring that the Wilson family's story of resilience would be remembered and celebrated for generations.
As the holiday season approached again, the Wilson estate was aglow with the warmth and light that only months of healing and careful planning could bring. Snow lay thick on the ground, blanketing the gardens in pristine white, and the scent of pine from decorated trees filled the air inside our home. Jackson and I took this Christmas to honor the resilience we had built, hosting a small, intimate gathering for close friends, family, and key members of the foundation. The atmosphere was alive with laughter, the clinking of glasses, and the aroma of roast turkey, spiced cider, and fresh-baked treats. Every ornament on the tree told a story of victory, remembrance, and the lessons learned through hardship. We shared stories openly with our guests, weaving humor, reflection, and pride into the narrative of our survival and triumph over deception. The joy was genuine because it had been earned, painstakingly, through patience, intelligence, and unwavering courage. Jackson, now more grounded and confident than ever, led small tours of the estate for foundation supporters, showcasing the programs funded and the families helped. His eyes sparkled with pride as he explained housing projects, educational workshops, and winter holiday events for disadvantaged children. I watched him closely, noting the strength he had gained, tempered with compassion, and the way he now instinctively questioned intentions without losing heart. Our bond, once threatened by external manipulation, had become unshakable, forged in fire and trust. We laughed over memories of Natalie's antics, acknowledging the absurdity of her audacity, yet we didn't dwell in anger. She had been rendered powerless through strategy and evidence, her influence now nothing more than a cautionary tale. On Christmas Eve, we held a quiet ceremony honoring Frank's memory. Candles flickered across the room, and Jackson and I shared stories of his laughter, wisdom, and kindness. I placed his favorite ornaments on the tree, each representing moments he would have cherished: the first snow in Montana, family hikes, and Jackson's childhood triumphs. Tears came freely, but they were tempered by warmth, gratitude, and the knowledge that his legacy continued through us and the foundation. That night, as snow swirled outside, Jackson handed me a small gift, a silver charm shaped like a lighthouse, symbolizing guidance, protection, and illumination through storms. It was simple yet profoundly moving, a reminder that even after betrayal, love and loyalty could create beacons of hope. Meanwhile, Natalie's attempts to interfere remained faint echoes. Her social media campaigns had failed completely, her reputation tarnished, and she had relocated far from Montana, attempting a fresh start that inevitably crumbled under the weight of her past actions. Legal barriers prevented her from accessing any Wilson assets, and our vigilance ensured that any new attempts at manipulation were met with immediate counteraction. Every step we took was calculated, intentional, and protective of our family and the foundation. Jackson had matured into a man who recognized the importance of boundaries, the value of discernment, and the necessity of proactive defense against those who would seek to exploit kindness. Our Christmas celebrations, full of warmth and tradition, reflected not only our victory but the strength and foresight needed to maintain it. By Christmas morning, the house was alive with the sound of carols, the laughter of friends, and the aroma of cinnamon and baked goods. Jackson and I exchanged gifts, small and meaningful, each symbolizing lessons learned, resilience, and hope for the future. The Wilson Foundation continued its work unabated, funding holiday initiatives, supporting vulnerable families, and providing educational scholarships. Snow fell gently outside, mirroring the serenity and security we had built. In quiet moments by the fire, we reflected on the past year, the betrayal, the humiliation, the strategic victories, and the restoration of trust and family bonds. We had transformed a nightmare into a story of empowerment, resilience, and just as a story that now served as both inspiration and caution. As night fell and the estate settled under a soft blanket of snow, I looked in the mirror and saw strength reflected back at me. The baldness that had once represented humiliation now symbolized liberation, courage, and control over my destiny. Jackson joined me, placing a hand on my shoulder, his eyes bright with admiration and gratitude. "Mom," he said softly, "you've shown me what it means to fight with honor, protect what matters, and never let anyone steal our light." We shared a quiet toast by the fire, the flickering flames echoing our triumph over darkness. This Christmas, our family had reclaimed joy, security, and love, proving that even the most calculated betrayal could be overcome with intelligence, vigilance, and unwavering heart. And so, as snow drifted outside and warm light bathed the estate, the Wilson family, undaunted, unbroken, and united, celebrated not just a holiday, but a victory of spirit, legacy, and the enduring power of resilience. Natalie's shadow had faded, leaving only clarity, laughter, and peace in its place. Jackson and I knew that future challenges might arise, but the lessons we had learned ensured that no betrayal could ever shake us again. Together, in the glow of the holiday, surrounded by love and tradition, we understood the ultimate truth. The strongest family is forged in fire, guided by wisdom, and bound by unbreakable trust. And with that, our story, one of betrayal, revenge, and ultimate triumph, found its rightful closure, leaving behind a legacy of courage, vigilance, and the kind of Christmas joy that can only be earned through enduring and overcoming the deepest trials.